Some crimes are impulsive, a flash of rage, a desperate moment, and a trail of evidence left behind in the chaos. These are the cases that fill our news cycles and our prisons. But there is another kind of killer, the one who calculates, the one who plans for months, cleaning the scene with surgical precision, scrubbing away every trace of their existence. These men don't just commit crimes, they build fortresses of lies. They believe they are invisible, and for a long time, they are. Tonight, we analyze three men who nearly achieved the impossible, the perfect crime. One lived as a ghost for 40 years, watching the world change from his front porch. One maintained a mask of chilling composure while the entire nation looked for his family. And one was so convinced of his own brilliance that he treated the police like his personal audience. But in every fortress, there is a crack, a detail too small to notice, a technology that didn't exist yet, or an ego that simply became too heavy to carry. They weren't caught by a sudden stroke of luck. They were caught because time never stops, and the truth is patient. In the 1970s and 80s, California was paralyzed by a phantom. He was known by many names: the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker. He wasn't just a burglar or a murderer. He was a psychological terrorist. He would break into homes weeks before the attack, unlatching a window or hiding the family's ammunition. He studied his victims' routines until he knew their lives better than they did. When he finally struck, he was in total control. He would leave no fingerprints, no consistent descriptions, and no clues. For decades, the case was a graveyard of cold leads. Detectives retired, victims grew old, and the files gathered dust in cardboard boxes. By the year 2000, the Golden State Killer was a myth, a dark chapter of the past that everyone assumed would never be closed. The killer had won. He had outlived the investigation. But then came 2018. Forensic science reached a frontier that Joseph DeAngelo could never have imagined in 1975. Investigators took a DNA sample from an old crime scene and did something radical. They didn't search criminal databases. They uploaded the profile to open-source genealogy websites. They weren't looking for Joseph. They were looking for his distant relatives, third cousins, great aunts, people who had simply wanted to find their ancestors. By building a massive family tree of thousands of people, the net slowly began to tighten. When the police finally surrounded a quiet house in Citrus Heights, they found a 72-year-old grandfather. He had lived a normal life. He had been a police officer himself. He hadn't made a single mistake in 40 years, but he was caught by a future he couldn't stop. He didn't fail. Forensic history simply caught up to him.
And I'm truly sorry to everyone I've hurt.
Christmas Eve, 2002. While most families were gathered around trees, the Peterson family in Modesto was beginning a nightmare. Lacey Peterson, 8 months pregnant, had vanished. Her husband, Scott, told the simple story. He went fishing at the Berkeley Marina, returned home, and found his wife gone. On paper, it was a tragedy, but in person, something was wrong. Scott Peterson didn't behave like a man who had lost his world. He was composed, he was polite, he was distant. While hundreds of volunteers were scouring the muddy banks of rivers, Scott was caught on camera smiling at a candlelight vigil. The police had no body, they had no blood, they had no murder weapon. Scott's defense was built on a simple premise. You have no proof a crime even happened. And for a while, it worked. But then, the mask began to slip. A woman named Amber Fry came forward. She had been dating Scott, believing he was a widower. She revealed that Scott had told her his wife was gone weeks before she actually disappeared. In April 2003, the tide brought the truth to the shore. The remains of Lacey and her unborn son were found exactly where Scott said he had been fishing. He didn't leave a trail of DNA. He didn't leave a confession. He was crushed by the sheer weight of his own lies. It wasn't one piece of evidence that broke him. It was the impossible accumulation of coincidences. Sometimes, the most quiet evidence is the loudest.
About the morning.
Okay. I don't know what time we got up. Probably Lacey got up and went and assumed she had some cereal for breakfast.
So what you're telling me, Scott, is you have no idea where this is.
Dennis Rader was a man of the law. He was a compliance officer, a church leader, and a father. But for 30 years, he carried a secret identity, BTK. Bind, torture, kill. He stopped his crimes in 1991, but he couldn't stop his craving for attention. To Rader, the murders were only half the fun. The other half was the game, the letters to the press, the taunting of the police, the feeling that he was the director of a grand, dark play. In 2004, Rader grew restless. He felt the world had forgotten him. He began sending packages again, testing the police, acting like a mentor to the detectives he had eluded for decades. His ego eventually blinded his judgment. He sent a message to the police asking a technical question. "Can you trace a floppy disk? Be honest with me." The detectives, knowing they were dealing with a narcissist, played along. They placed an ad in the newspaper. "It is safe to use. We cannot trace a disk." Rader believed them. He sent a purple floppy disk to a TV station, confident that his professional relationship with the police would protect him. He didn't realize that every digital file carries a ghost, metadata. Technicians found a deleted Microsoft Word document on that disk. It contained a name, Dennis, and a location, Christ Lutheran Church. Within hours, they had his address. Within a day, they had his DNA. He had outsmarted the detectives of the 70s, but his own need to be admired led him directly into a digital trap. He trusted the system because he believed he owned it.
Mrs. Otero woke back up and, she was pretty upset in what's going on. So I came back and at that point in time strangled her for a death strangle at that time.
With your hands or what?
No, with a cord, with a rope.
3 men who believed they had beaten the odds. Joseph DeAngelo believed that time was his shield. Scott Peterson believed that his charm was his armor. And Dennis Rader believed that his intelligence made him a god. They all came close. They lived among us, breathing the same air, walking the same streets, convinced that their secrets were buried deep enough to never see the light. But these cases prove one thing. Justice doesn't have an expiration date. It doesn't matter if it takes 40 years of scientific progress, the slow pressure of circumstantial evidence, or a single deleted file on a purple disk. The truth has a way of rising to the surface. None of them were caught by luck. They were caught by the one thing no criminal can ever truly control: themselves. The perfect crime is a myth. There are only those who are caught today and those who are waiting for tomorrow.